is indeed prepping for the possibility of military operations in Cuba after months of President Trump warning that indeed that country could be next. Let's talk about it. Former Lieutenant Colonel Christopher Burnett is our guest. First of all, we'll put this up from USA Today, exclusive reporting that the Pentagon is ramping up for possible military ops. They say that that's quietly happening in case the president gives an order to intervene. Pentagon said it plans for a range of contingencies, remains prepared to execute the president's orders as directed. It has been coming up for months, like the president has hinted, oh, it could be next after Venezuela. I know that. But I also feel like the hints have been, well, Cuba could fall on its own rather than us needing to go in. How do you see it?
First, Connell, thanks for having me on this afternoon. Anyone that's been in the military, and particularly any staff officer, will tell you, all you do in the military is plan. And oftentimes you have to be directed to plan for a specific contingency. And so when I was at U.S. Southern Command as an operational law attorney, we were constantly planning for contingencies involving Cuba, whether it was a mass migration incident, or it was something involving JTF Gitmo, and that's the housing of detainees that were brought back from Al-Qaeda and other places. So what they're doing right now is they've probably received a warning order or a plan order that's directing U.S. Southern Command or other forces assigned to prepare for contingencies. And this could range from anything from non-combatant evacuations, and that could be personnel stationed at Gitmo, it could be personnel at the embassy, or it could be U.S. citizens that are in some way connected to the base or the island. The other part of this, of course, would be an escalation, is if while you're conducting those combat evacuations or non-combatant evacuations, if there were to escalate, you have to plan for that contingency. So this is just good planning to prepare for the possibility of a humanitarian crisis or some other incident that would require a military response.
Okay, that part of it certainly makes sense. Here's what the president said about Cuba earlier in the week.
Well, we're going to see with Cuba. Cuba's another story. Cuba's been a terribly run country for a long time. It's got a bad system. It's been very oppressive, as you know. And Cuba's a failing nation. And we're going to do this, and we may stop by Cuba after we're finished with this.
You know, do this or this is obviously a reference to what's happening in the Middle East with Iran. So you went through, and that makes sense, how you plan for all types of contingencies, right? But what about what makes sense in your own mind about what we should do, could do, risks associated with what we might implement in Cuba?
So this is an interesting scenario because we would not be operating under an imminent threat, national self-defense, or some kind of justification for the use of military force. More than likely, we would be considering a humanitarian assistance or disaster relief package that would require the ability to escalate if things were to go sideways. And what I mean by sideways is they weren't going as planned with the delivery of humanitarian assistance. Now, this would come up under international human rights law, which provides for the right to protect. And this right to protect is oftentimes if the host country is unable or unwilling to assist their population, right, there could be a justification.
So what would you do, go to the UN or at least go to the Congress? I know the president doesn't like doing things like that.
Well, it would depend exactly what the justification is, but if there's enough of a crisis, you could act immediately, and just like everything else under War Powers Resolution, the justification could be that we needed to act immediately to prevent a humanitarian crisis, and then you would notify Congress within 48 hours. Now, the question would become, are these considered combat operations or were these relief? I would think it would be in the best interest of everybody involved to get Congress's involvement early so that you don't have a funding issue later.
Right, which the president has not done in the past. I mean, wouldn't you be surprised if that's the route he took, this president, given his history?
I wouldn't be completely surprised. I don't think this administration is as random as some people like to make it think. What it comes down to, in the past, there's been a requirement to protect operational security. We did not want to put our forces at risk in Venezuela. We did not want to put our forces at risk in the Middle East. In this situation, because we're not facing an imminent threat, there's not the need to necessarily operate without congressional consent or congressional involvement. In this case, I think there could very well be a notification of Congress that we're going to conduct humanitarian assistance or disaster relief operations with the possibility of escalating to what is needed to ensure a peaceful transition if this government were to fail.
Okay, Chris Burnett, thank you very much for coming on. I got to shift to Lebanon right now because in about 30 seconds or so, the ceasefire is supposed to go into effect there.